Welcome back, everybody, to the Wild Faith Podcast. My name is Evan Bungham. I have my co-host Luke Timmons with me here today. Today, we're going to be talking about the pursuit of happiness. So without further ado, Luke, how are we doing today?
Good. Doing good. We finally get some sunshine going on here, and summer's in full swing. It's hot, man. So,
did you get a chance to get out last night at 3:30 in the morning and see the strawberry moon?
No, but I got out at 4:15 on my morning commute and saw it. So,
was it fiery pink like they said it was supposed to be?
I think it was more orangish, but that was, like I said, is at like 4:30.
Okay,
and so maybe the little bit of haze from the Canadians wildfire. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. I want some blue sky, and Canada needs to get there.
I will say though, I mean, the smoke sucks. Our air quality has sucked, and it happens. But I will say, haze in filming any type of photos, videos, it makes for some like just crazy cinematic looking stuff.
Yeah, but for enjoying life,
no, it's terrible. My asthma's been terrible.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
On top of having a cold right now, lack of sleep, and that it has been, I've stayed inside for the last couple of days. But yeah, I was gonna say, I got up at 3:30 because I was up with Millie and went outside, and yeah, it just looked like a regular full moon. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of let down. I was getting ready to like take pictures of this thing, and I'm like, yeah, no, okay, we're going back to bed.
Yep, I didn't even know that was what was going on, and pleasant surprise. I spotted it on my drive in.
Yeah,
although my drive is east, so it was behind me the whole time.
Very true. Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. So, today we're getting down there. We got 2 more weeks left here of kind of going in our, talking about men's mental health and just kind of that whole entire genre of topics and whatnot. So today we kind of wanted to talk about, what is that pursuit of happiness? Not just for men, but for everybody, and kind of the silver lining with that, because I just feel like that's such a maybe overused statement and no one really knows what it means, so let's just kind of break that down. So tell me in your mind, like, what is the pursuit of happiness to you?
Well, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's all relative, man. It's it's whatever you want to chase, and you need to root that chase in your faith, I think, and that's hard to do because you get sucked into the greed of this world, and you get sucked into the world, I guess, in general, whether it's greed, whether it's anything in life. And so I think you need to be intentional with what you're chasing, and I probably sound like a broken record saying that, because I've said it quite a bit here with like being intentional with your faith and stuff, but you just have to, if your pursuit is rooted in joy and in serving the Lord and being there for your family and all that stuff, like, happiness is just a relative thing where it could be one thing for me and it could be a completely different thing for somebody else. So it's, you gotta do a little bit of soul searching, I think, with that one. And for me, it's just being present with the family, being a good father, being a good husband. And, it's not chasing the material stuff in life. And yeah.
Well, that's a great answer. And, I was just kind of going to go off of that a little bit, where, Jesus talks about, I feel like society tells us today, like, do what makes you happy, do whatever you want to do that makes you happy, whatever that is, but, Jesus deep down is telling us to pick up the cross and just kind of go through and trust in him, and he'll provide happiness. But I don't know, it's an interesting topic, because I just feel like that's maybe, we've talked about it before, of how that times have changed, of where it's like we feel society has told us to what to buy, what to do, how to feel, and, what happiness really is in a picture book compared to what happiness is in real life, Like, for me, I always knew I wanted to have kids, didn't know when that day was going to come, especially with like Millie. It took us, I don't know, almost a year and a half before we could have her. And like, what a joy kids are. What a, I will say it is a lot of work. I'm finding that out now after having a second child. But like, man, just the pure joy and happiness that those beings bring to, just my soul and my wife, and just how amazing that is to have kids. But like, it's just funny to me to see how the narrative of, what is pushed on not just us, but our kids nowadays is just so different than I think what we look at through scripture and we look at through time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when you brought this topic up here before we hopped on, I was like, oh, it's kind of like perfect. And I think this is one of those little, moments in time where God kind of just brings things to the forefront or brings things to fruition to like, see, this is what you need to focus on. Cause I was literally just reading, shout out to Jim Ramos, his book called Dialed In. It's about reaching your full capacity as a man of God. And I was literally just reading, and the old Mystery Ranch sticker bookmark is right on the page.
Nice.
And he was talking about Paul, and I'll just read a little bit of scripture here, but it's relative to what we're talking about. Is Paul talking in 1 Timothy 6:6-10, and it says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs."
I'm gonna have to get a copy of that book.
It's a good book. I've been last couple of days, I've just been flying through it. So it's been good, but it just goes to show you, like you can chase money, you can chase a fancy house, you can chase all the material stuff, new car, new boat, new whatever thing. And is it really making you happy, or is it just masking some of the pain that maybe you're hiding? Right? Because you're getting happy through things. You're not getting happy. You're not addressing the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is you have some soul searching to do, and you need to figure out what's truly important in your life and go down that road and get good with God, right?
This is kind of an interesting one, and I'd like to hear your perspective on this, because I guess maybe I kind of have my own take, but like, think of like hobbies. Obviously, like we started this whole podcast in the concept of like trying to.
I got too many.
Yeah, right. But like trying to reach out to others, share the faith, share our passion for the outdoors. But hobbies bring happiness. Hopefully good hobbies. Talking about just personal development type stuff, or constructive hobbies. But like keeping in that same light, just using, for example, hunting or golfing or fishing or lifting or whatever it might be that you're happy if you pick your poison. But, when we talk about happiness, then and that borderline over obsessive desire we have sometimes to be either, maybe if it's competitive, being the best at that, or if that's being
hyper the biggest buck, right?
Yeah, hyper fixated on it to where it's like, then you're getting away from the point of that. Yeah. So like, just maybe tell me like, what's your perspective on that, and like how we can use these passions we have as happiness, but maybe like how we're supposed to incorporate Christ through that to share that love that he's given you this opportunity, Well,
look at the millions upon millions of people that fell in love with, the Duck Commander. And then, through all that, Phil was able to reach out to millions and millions of people and spread the good word. So I think it's just all about like, it's again, like if you're chasing only the big buck, if you're chasing only, some sort of reward from your hobby, it's going back to the thing we were just talking about, chasing a thing, not the passion. Like you and I love bow hunting because it brings us peace, and we're more connected with nature. We're more connected with God because it's like in the quietness of bow hunting, you find him. So like, if you just gotta you gotta figure out your why and chase that. And if it's again, rooted in your faith and rooted in God and I think that's fine, man. Like shooting a big buck or shooting a limit of ducks is just cherry on top, like everyone wants to do that. Sure. But if your sole obsession is that, then I think you're getting away from it. And I honestly think like, I might get patronized from the outdoor community on this because, I maybe sound like a hypocrite, but I think the outdoor industry is going down the wrong direction. And that is where it's, a little bit of social media to blame, maybe, of grip and grins, where everyone wants to see the big buck. Everyone wants to see a stack of mallards. Everyone wants to see limits, whatever, big fish, whatever the hobby is, where it's like, yeah, that's fine. Because don't get me wrong, I want to shoot a big buck. I'd love to. I haven't shot a nice buck in 6 years, but I haven't stopped hunting because I love it. Right. Like, so I think, like I said, everyone needs to do, probably me too, obviously, and not probably, I absolutely need to, but do a little bit of soul searching, like find your why, rooted in your faith, rooted in, and if you also have to check yourself though, too, because if your hobbies become a burden on your family, then you got some reassessing to do. Like you can't just be out there running and gunning and throwing abandonment to your family. Like you need to set your priorities, right? So I'm kind of jumping all over here, but like, that's why I love getting my boys into the outdoors, and they love it. At least so far they do. And I get to enjoy that time with them out in God's creation. I get to see, whether it's just going out to the archery range with Liam and John and them just flinging some tiny little arrows and not even sticking into the target. But if they hit the target, they just freak out and are excited like that. I could do that all day. So, it's hard. Life's hard, but some way we figure it out. And, I'll just go back to the good book every time. And just, that's my why, that's our why behind this podcast, right? Like we could never make a penny off this, and that doesn't matter to us because what we want to do with this is just spread the good word through our passion. And that is the outdoors. So
Amen,
it's a very, very long-winded response, but caught me rambling.
No, I love that. And that's a great response. And I think it's also too within moderation. And
right.
Excuse me, you said it right on the head. I mean, like there's that triangle of like your pillar of what you should live your life on. And everyone, it's your own life. You can live it the way you want, but God should be first. Your wife, if you're married, should be second. And then kind of down from there, it'd be your kids, family, friends, hobbies, or probably job, then hobbies. It's like
you got to pay for them hobbies, right?
I love, that's like one of my favorite things is going through my dad's old notes. It's the one blessing that he had the ability that he always did. He always wrote notes. He was just a note taker where he'd write down his thoughts that he was having for the day, if he was really having a bad day or if he was having a good day, or I mean, it's beautiful to see because I kind of got to see the demons that he was kind of fighting, throughout his days, and also his days of thanks and gratitude. And that kind of takes me to my next point. But, that was so fun to go through and read his notes, because one of his most iconic notes that I have, I actually got it like right, I think it's right in his desk, is he got a triangle with all the most important things in his life broke down, going from top to bottom. And then on the back side of it is our fourth grade. So it must have been, when we were in fourth grade, our fourth grade like playbook of like who was the starting lineup for fourth grade football.
Perfect.
So
there you go.
So that's kind of cool. I should frame that. But
so what was the pyramid? Do you know?
Pretty much just everything that I just said. It was God, my mom, us kids, the rest of the family, friends, work, hobbies. I think the dogs fell somewhere in between all that. And then
gotta love them dogs.
He broke it down. He was going all the way through whoever the political leaders at the time were and all that other stuff. So, my dad, he was
in typical Dave fashion for sure.
Yeah. It was interesting.
I love that, man.
We'll keep the other parts out, but but that takes me to the next point of where like some of my favorite notes he has are just these, they're so simple, but they're so powerful. They're talking about just being grateful and gratitude. And I think, that's something where we talk about this pursuit of happiness and what does that mean? And I think we get so over obsessive with just living life. Really, I mean, I feel like this is a reality check for me, and it has been for the last 5 years. Where I feel like the older you get, the faster things go, and I never really understood that till I was older and had kids and stuff. But it's like time does go by fast, and things happen fast. And I mean, just think of like what's all happened for both you and I in this last month and a half. It's been crazy. But it's like life is never going to stop moving, but it's like all those good days and bad days where it's like just how much more of a better mood that I'm in when I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for everything, just even the little things, and where it's like, man, I'm just happy I woke up today. You know?
Oh, right. Yeah. Sometimes it's simple as that, or your kid, like today, getting home from work and just laying on the horn because the boys are outside playing in the driveway, and John just jumping up like crazy. Like that's instant mood boost, right? Like, being front door famous, like that Luke Combs song. But like, yeah, man, like you also like it's that whole humble pie thing too, because like you are rich if you really think about it. Like you have a house for your tools, a garage. And I'm going off of Jim's book here, but like you have a fireproof room for your guns, a safe. Your wife has a room for her clothes, a closet, right? Like you have all these things that like so many people that are, our brothers and sisters in Christ have none of that, and they still find joy and contentment and generous, lives. And like goes right back to Matthew 19:24 that says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Like there's two definitions of rich: money, which is the root of all evil, or rich beyond that. And that's, eternity in heaven.
So why do you think it's so hard for guys in particular, and maybe women too? I mean, we obviously can't speak for them, but like, why is it so hard for us to be grateful for the, just even the little things?
Social media. It's a big one. I mean, it's true. Like you see all this stuff like, God, I wish I had that boat, I wish I had that house with all those sweet toys and whatever. But it's like, on the surface, yeah, that person looks happy when they're posting, because they're not posting when they're arguing with their wife, when they're not posting when they've had a bad day at work, right? Like they're posting the good stuff. You're just seeing the good stuff. Like all these, and obviously we run a social media, account too. So like we're all guilty of it, but like all you see on social media, kind of, I mean, there's a dark side to it, but like is the good side of everything. You hardly ever see the bad stuff. And so like you start to see that, and then you start looking at your own life. It's like, well, I don't have that house. I don't have this. I don't have that. And 100% men and women are guilty of it. Like I can speak to that, because it's like you start to see all these things that people may have that you don't. And it's like, well, is that really making them happy? Or going back to what I was saying earlier, or are they masking some sort of pain or whatever with that thing?
Yeah, I often wonder, it's like, if we could just flip a switch and go back to 1920, before World War.
I don't know about the Depression, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it's just like,
right.
Like,
that would be tough.
If we had nothing, my wife brought this up in the car the other day. We were just driving. I don't know where this came from, but she was just like, would we still be happy if we didn't have anything? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I got you and the kids, and yeah, we've been poor before. I was like, I think we'd be happy. But it's like, I just think of that, where it's like, okay, let's just take away social media. Let's take away all these amenities and luxuries that we've been spoiled with over the last, 100 years now. And it's like, would society be happier than they are right now? Or is this just like a surface wound that needs to be healed through faith in Christ, of where it's just like all these people are living these superficial lives that they have blinders on, in a sense of where it's like they just refuse to submit, because like you said, like there, and like that we said at the very beginning of the podcast, I feel like the pursuit of happiness is like, it's such a silver lining question, because it's like you could look at it from the lens of being covered with like, terms of that, oh, it's all sunshines and rainbows. And I've got my phone and I've lived that social media lifestyle like we're talking, or it's like you're rooted in faith, family, your beliefs. And it's like, I could lose my house today and I'll still be happy because I know that the good Lord is going to provide for me and that we'll get by. So it's interesting. I just feel like it's some like how what would you say to someone that struggles with that in terms of being grateful? Like what are things that they could do to like work on seeing through that lens and kind of breaking free from that?
It's hard. We all struggle with that. Anyone who says they don't is a damn liar, in my opinion. I think, obviously I would point them to the Bible, because if you could sum up the Bible in one word, it's love. And that goes into all facets of life. Jesus died on the cross because of his love for us, so that we can spend eternity in heaven with him and our, loved ones and everything else. But like, it goes like kind of what you're talking about. Like, you could lose everything, but you still have your wife, you still have your kids. And it's like First Corinthians 13 talks about, love is patient, love is kind, doesn't boast, doesn't envy, and it's not proud. I probably mixed that order up, but like you just have to love your life. And it's hard to sometimes because depression sets in, the devil starts whispering nonsense in your ears, and it's, dude, appreciate the little things, and then when the big things come, it's even sweeter. Mm-hmm. And the hardest thing you've ever gone through is the hardest thing you've ever gone through. So like life's going to kick you in the nuts, and you got to find a way to get back up, dust off, and appreciate all the things that you do have. Like you just said, you have a wife, you have 2 kids now, you have all these things that make you rich beyond money. Right. So it's hard. Like I said, everyone struggles with it. I struggle with it. I struggle with all that stuff of it's just been a ball buster of a last month and a half for us of, grandpa passing, selling a house, new job, buying a house, so it's like all these setbacks at times, but all is good at the same time. So it's like, you just have to like I said, appreciate the little things, like getting home and your kids run into the door because you're home, and that's goes back to like what Jesus preached about, it's out of the tip of my tongue, but like faith like a child, right? Like you have to kids are so oblivious to all the bad in the world, and they just love everything, and they're just so happy, and they, you just get a little bit of that. I think you're going to be all right.
Oh, amen to that, dude. So, a lot of times too, we think about of how we can kind of sometimes get confused with wants and needs. So is there a time that you can think of in your life that, you've been grateful for what God gave you, but it wasn't what you originally asked for?
I don't, it's hard to like pinpoint it on one specific thing, I guess, because like I do have so many blessings. I do have, a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful kids and a home and all these, things around me. And so, yeah, I mean, like anyone is guilty of asking for things or wants, but like goes back again to scripture. Book of Luke talks, when Jesus is in the garden praying, knowing the impending doom that's coming, like, it'd be pretty hard to be like, hey, tonight, you're going to be taken, and tomorrow you're going to be put up on a cross to die. Obviously he knew the reason behind that, but like, he's praying like, if you're willing, not my will be done, but yours. So, I mean, like you have to just, it's so hard because I suck at it, and we all do it at times. And at times we're really grateful and are appreciative of all the things, but you just have to get to a point where you just sometimes have to accept the bad because it's going to come.
Yeah.
And roll with it, not let it ruin you. Try not to. And like you talked about earlier, just get into the book, pray, all these things that he's given you already, forgiveness, mercy, love, like you're getting that without asking for it.
Without doing anything.
So, I mean, you're already getting lots of good. So it's hard, man, but that'd be my answer for that one.
That's good, and it's like, this is kind of a funny thing. It took me a long time to kind of realize this, like, and this is maybe offbeat or it's on subject, I guess, but like, I've always wondered when people are like, God, you're just like people always tell me that, like, you're an optimist. Like everything is just always sunshines and rainbows for you. And like, kind of thought, I'm like, because I am. I mean, literally, our ship could be sinking and be like, oh, well, we'll figure it out. But it's like one of those things.
At least it's not burning, right?
Yeah, true. But it's like, it took me a while to like kind of understand that parable in my head of where it's like, you know what? I've figured out that I've been able to live life with a lot of peace, and I'm very grateful for that, because I think for us to have utmost trust in the Lord, and don't get me wrong, I have had many moments where I've trusted or questioned my faith, and I am a full-on sinner for that. But like, in terms of like, I feel like living a life having, like you said, faith of a child in the Lord allows you to live a more peaceful life than it would be to worry about everything. And I think the first starting point with that is being grateful for everything that you have. And I think it's going to give you that stress relief of anxiety of whatever it is, of just knowing that, you know what, the Lord will provide. Have faith. Why, just like it's the same thing with Peter, we were talking about when he was out on the water, like, why have little faith? Like, I should always trust me. But, yeah, man, this is a good one. And, I just feel like with all the things that we've kind of gone about and we talked about, just give me like a playbook of like maybe a couple steps that somebody could go through and follow to find a better path to happiness and gratefulness in their life.
It's going to take some time. It's hard because, like I said, I'll just try to reiterate what I've said already. It's like the hardest thing you've ever gone through is the hardest thing that you've ever gone through. And nobody probably knows what that feels like. Well, they for sure don't know what it feels like for you, because even though someone may have gone through, the death of a parent, a grandparent, or whatever, like it all affects us differently. And so, you just have to have that in mind, and you just have to, again, be rooted, have deep roots in your faith, and you have to trust in God, and you have to just appreciate the little things. So I don't know. It's just get outside. It'd be number one, or not, maybe not number one, but it's right up there as far as just get outside, get a hobby that gets you outside for whatever that is. If it's going for walks, doesn't matter. Get outside, enjoy the outdoors, go for a hike, and just take that time to decompress. Like, you don't necessarily have to be like praying the entire time that you're outside. You don't have to be doing all these things, because I don't. Sometimes I just need to get outside and not think. And so I think that's a big thing, is just get outside, take that time to decompress. And then when you're ready, speak to God, pray to him. And then, maybe just get out the notebook and just start writing things in your life that are good. Don't worry. Don't write down the bad stuff, because you already know it, right? We always tend to focus on the bad stuff. So just focus on the things that are good. Maybe there's just one thing, but you have one thing that's good. And maybe that's that one thing that gives you purpose to start, trying to get better, to start praying, to start trying to turn things around. And eventually, like I said, it's going to take time. Nothing changes overnight like that. So you just got to be intentional with it, man.
Dude, love that. I think that's spot on. I don't really have much to add to that. I mean, I just highly recommend too. Like, I think you said it and it's really good. I think the Lord wants us to be intentional. He wants us to talk to him anytime, but he wants us to be intentional about it, and not to be in two different realms at the same time. He wants all of our attention,
Right.
Like I look at it this last 2 weeks for both my wife and I, we've had no sleep, baby two. I thought it was going to be just a cakewalk, and it has been upside down world. And it's been hard. And it's like one of those things where it's like, I kind of lost track of time through lack of sleep, lack of things, where it's just like, I had to give myself a dose of reality of like being grateful that I've got to spend just time with my child. And like today was a good example. My wife and I were getting pretty snippy with each other, and I took shower. I don't know why taking showers for me is like, I feel, I don't know. It's almost like naked and afraid, where it's like, I feel like I'm like the most vulnerable, and I like have my best thoughts are in the shower. I don't know why, but I was like, I just felt like, I really I needed to go pray with my wife. And it was like, so we went, and I just went upstairs and we prayed, and it was awesome. And it's like every time that happens, and that needs to happen more often, it's like, you just feel so good. So that's what I was going to say, like for yourself, if you are married and you have a spouse, or maybe you have a significant other, what it is, like, take that time to be grateful yourself, but share that gratitude with your significant other and give thanks back to the Lord together. I think there's something really powerful in doing that and being appreciative together. And, we pray for everybody listening too, and hope you guys do the same for us. But one step in the right direction. And, but I kind of want to just change it up a little bit here. I want to talk about some interesting talk that is happening in Minnesota. I know this one's a mental health episode, but we're 2 weeks out, and we'll kind of be getting back to some normal outdoor type contact. But I want to talk about it because I think it's relevant. So this is interesting. They're proposing, and this has been proposed, I think, for years now, but now it sounds like there's a bill that hasn't gone through yet, but sounds like it's got some pretty good roots to potentially happen. They are talking about pulling the rug out from the shotgun zone in southeastern Minnesota and opening it up to rifle hunting.
Well,
what are your thoughts?
I think it's all of Minnesota, not just southeastern.
Well, I think, but I think there's only.
Well, it's like that Highway 2. What is it? Highway 212. So basically, anything south of the cities is shotgun only.
Yeah. So they're proposing all that to be rifle hunting, or be legal for rifle hunting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Or shotguns.
Or shotgun. If you want to be primitive, I guess.
Hey, you still go out with a recurve.
True. I might as well bring a stick.
I don't really have an opinion on it. I think it'd be fine. I don't know. I would have to see. I'm a data guy. I'm a numbers guy. So I'd have to see some data and numbers, but all that would just be estimates.
Yeah.
Because it's what hasn't been legal since probably, I think I said something like the 40s. Yep. So, I mean, it's not really relative anymore.
I wish I could have done more reading on it. It was an interesting, thought process to went into why they installed that bill and created that divide. Because, I look at it where it's like up in Roseau, where my brother-in-law lives, it is literally identical to Hayfield, Minnesota. It is
flat farms,
flatter than a pancake, no trees, and man, it is. Deer are running from section to section for their lives,
I don't see the only potential negative would be, decrease in, deer numbers, but there's no numbers to back that up.
Valid.
Like Wisconsin still year after year has great harvest numbers, great herd populations, massive deer getting killed. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. You're going to get all the liberals that are going to be like, it's not going to be safe and more people are going to be shot. But you think about it, rifles could be safer. They have a smaller danger zone than a shotgun, and so I don't know. I'll put it this way. I have really no opinion on it, and I would be shocked if it actually passed, just knowing this state.
I don't think it passes. But
I don't either.
Hypothetically talking, that's what we're all kind of, this is the whole bit on it, is just like, what are our thoughts if it did happen. Because, it's the funny thing. We talked about this with crossbows, then it happened. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think in terms of like, will it affect the surrounding livestock and people and their livelihoods? No, because
people still get shot every year from shotguns. Like,
yeah, it blows my mind, and I think part of it too is just because obviously turkey hunting, you're not wearing blaze orange, but like how many people unfortunately get shot during turkey season is just mind blowing to me and so sad.
I bet it's less than deer.
I think just because
I have no numbers to back that up, but I bet it's less than deer.
I think it's just because that there's less hunters doing the sport compared to there's deer hunting. I mean, you got to think Minnesota, we're not as big as Wisconsin or Michigan, I don't think, for the Orange Army, but still a ton of people. I think deer numbers are definitely going to get affected in terms of, I think we're going to have a higher kill rate, which is not a bad thing. That's why we set quotas and tag limits. I think our CWD needs to be addressed if that's the case, because
I think they would definitely need to adjust like some of them 5 year zones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, if I had a rifle, this is just me hypothetically talking. If I had a rifle, I would be able to fill my limit of whatever quota that was, if it was for 5 deer for our zone every year.
Maybe.
I pretty confident on that.
You said you were going to shoot a turkey this year.
True, but I didn't have a rifle.
No, I know, but like, yeah, like you're going to be,
my success rates.
You are going to be better.
Yes.
Because you're going to put the time in to sight in your rifle, to shoot your, it's just like bow hunting.
Oh yeah.
You got to shoot your bow. So you are as lethal as possible when it comes to, harvesting an animal for a quick death. You're still going to get those guys that show up to the gun range
100%
a day before season opens. Like, I got to sight this in. That's not going to change, because it still happens with shotguns. And it's like, you could even talk about like some of those, what is it? The 220 gauge shot, the shotgun that, I don't know what exactly it is, but it's like
220.
What is that thing?
A 22 250. A 220, like 223.
No. It's a shotgun, but it's basically a rifle.
Oh, a shot.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought I was thinking like a rifle caliber in my head. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
No. I was talking about the 20. Yeah, 212, 220 or whatever.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think your uncle has one.
It's a shot, like the Sabot shotgun.
No, I mean, like Savage makes like Savage makes like a I don't know if they make a 212, but I know they make like a 220. So it's like, what I'm getting at is like, it's as close to a rifle as you can get without being a rifle.
My muzzleloader shoots to 300 yards.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's like, the same thing. I'm not going to shoot a deer at 400 yards just because I can't. I could if I practice, but I'm not going to. I just think it's, I look at it the same way as crossbows, of where it's like, there's definitely been a higher kill rate.
I would push back on that one. I don't know. The only reason I'd push back on that one is because gun season's still only a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, not with CWD.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is you get rid of some of that stuff. And so like
gun
seasons, let's say 2 weeks. It's not like crossbows where you get the entirety of season. Mid-September to the end of the year.
Agreed.
Where, this is my 2 cents, but I would tie crossbows into gun season unless you have an injury, or I would even,
youth
up to, let's say 18 for crossbows. I mean, we're going down a rabbit hole. Fine. Yeah. 65 plus, obviously fine. If you got hurt and you can't pull a bow back, fine. But, so I don't know. I think it's like, definitely need to modernize some of these, that old regulation of shotgun only. But
the interesting thing, I think, though, is with the woes of what we've had with CWD and however you feel about it, if you feel that the DNR has done a good job with it, or if you feel they've done a terrible job with it, and like, I really think it's been mismanaged for what we've had for our zones in southeastern Minnesota, but potato, tomato, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like the only reason I could see this bill maybe getting passed is that I know sharpshooters weren't hitting their quotas for numbers, and have now since scrapped that program. So I could see them doubling down on hitting their quotas numbers by opening up this rifle season to those zones. But I could be wrong. That's a rabbit hole theory down the road. But like I said, I think I'm in the same boat with you. I could really care less because there's been how many deer that could have shot through the years that I said, oh, if I would have had a rifle, I would have shot that deer. But would I have? I don't know. So it's like it'll be interesting to see if it ever comes to light.
Yeah, I mean, on the CWD thing, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers right now statewide. I'm just going to go from 2017 to, do they have anything current? Yeah, they do. Okay. So 2017, there was 11 positive samples.
Okay.
Then
we're talking southeast Minnesota?
In Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota in general. Okay.
6 in 2018, 2019, 34, 2020, 36, 2021, 27, 2022, 53. A lot more zones, though, like you said.
Very true.
Harvest numbers dropped from 2022 to 2023, but 48. So the positive also dropped, but harvest numbers dropped. So that would make sense. And then 2024, 63. So it went up. Harvest numbers went down. So they went up. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Harvest numbers went up. So positive results went up. And then just in 2025, from just the disease management zones is like 90. So, I mean, there's
90 positive tests?
Yeah, I think. So, I mean, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? I'd have to lay that all out in a graph and look at it, but like, I don't know. I think, I don't think it's I don't think it's getting any worse, to be honest.
We should do our due diligence, and we should try to get a Minnesota DNR biologist on here and do the same thing for Wisconsin one, because I know Wisconsin's had this issue for a long time, and I really do think this has probably been going on in Minnesota for a long time. We just never really brought it to light, because I'd love to know more behind it and the science behind it and the theories of to why they've done what they've done. Because selfishly, as hunters, I feel like we get upset because it's like, well, we're just killing all of our deer, where it's just like, okay, but what's the backstory behind it? Just playing devil's advocate, it's just like, I don't know until I've been informed on it, or I've been able to do my own research on it. This is all from personal happenstance and what we've this is what's been going on for 7 years now.
8, yeah. 2017 was the first year they tested, I think.
It's interesting. So I don't know. We'll see if the whole rifle bit happens or not. We'd love to hear your thoughts too. But I mean, obviously this isn't the main stake of the episode. I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to bring up and get your thoughts on it. I mean, I know it's not super, it still involves you, but you were on the greener pastures.
Yeah. Yeah. Heading over to
land of big bucks.
East side of the river.
Well, yeah, you got to tell you what, man, now you are going to have an extra, is it 2 weeks to bow hunt? Right? Because your gun season's Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Oh, you mean, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I thought you meant like 2 weeks just longer in general. I'm like, I don't think so. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's gun season's later in Wisconsin.
Random question. Would you rather have hot fire? Just thought just came in my head and I thought it was interesting. Would you rather hunt a week earlier? So we're talking like September 1st.
For you talking deer?
Yep. Or would you rather hunt 2 weeks later?
Oh, a week earlier.
Week earlier.
Yeah, I don't. Getting into January, it gets too damn cold.
I know, but like, man, if you got the food, like, dude, you're getting every deer in the county to come by.
We had all the damn food last year, and there wasn't a single deer around. So
but the weather wasn't bad, though. That's the bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
We need like a
mild winter.
Snowmageddon to come by.
Sitting out in a tree with a bow does not sound fun for Snowmageddon. So I'll go earlier because maybe I could shoot a velvet.
Very true. Very, very true. Yeah,
because there's no chance of that here in Minnesota.
A Minnesota velvet buck would be like...
I don't think it exists, man. Not right now, anyways. You couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's the weird genetic ones that like hold their velvet and stuff, but like you might get lucky. But yeah, dude, if you kill a stud, not even 130-inch in velvet would be sick for Minnesota standards.
I'd take 100-inch with velvet because it just don't happen.
True. All right, I'm gonna hold you to that. You get a forkhorn that's coming by.
Yeah, in velvet. Yeah, I'll
let it eat. But all right, guys. Well, we appreciate you listening here. This was a fun one, and this is a good one. Like I said, we've got a week or 2 more weeks left of talking about just kind of mental health and stuff, and then we're probably going to start diving into talking about food. Wow, can't talk today. Food plots, talking about habitat management, and then we'll kind of be getting right into the swings of talking about practicing, getting ready for bow season. And it's going to be here before we know it. So once again, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through faith in the great outdoors. We hope today's episode has inspired you to seek God's presence in the wilderness and deepen your connection with nature. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Wild Faith Podcast on your favorite platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll continue to be a part of the Wild Faith Podcast community. We'd also love to hear from our listeners, so please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions, comments, or topic suggestions. You can connect with us on social media or through our website. Your feedback is important to us and helps us improve and tailor our content to better serve you. And always remember, the great outdoors isn't just a playground for hunting and fishing. It's a sanctuary for finding solace and spiritual renewal. As you gear up for that next adventure, I pray you find God's presence in the crackling of a campfire, the thrill of reeling in your catch, or the quiet solitude found in nature. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Wild Faith Podcast. Take care, and God bless.